What does it mean when you feel the chills coming out of nowhere? Is it a sign from spirit? Is it you getting a psychic prediction? And especially if something happens later after you feel the chills that makes you think, oh, that must have been why I got the chills. It can be confusing. It can be like, well, what did you want me to do with the chills? Hey, chills. Did you want me to do something about the situation? Did you want me to prevent something? And then feelings of guilt can come up, or feelings of wonder, like what the heck am I supposed to do with this? Listener Brittany asked me this question, and we're going to answer it today on Third Eyesight. My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Today we're going to cover a question that I received from a listener named Brittany. Thank you, Brittany, for writing in, and this is what she sent to me. I was raised as a Catholic, but lately have started my own spiritual journey and being a lot more open-minded. I've started meditation along with other things. Lately, I've been getting chills, and they would be very random. I wouldn't be cold or listen to anything that would cause me to have chills. In fact, most of the time, I would be laying in bed, trying to go to sleep, and would get to me, and would, let's see, what did she say? She says, and would get to me just an overwhelming amount of chills. Just like these overwhelming amount of chills would happen to her. This time in particular, the next day, was told one of my husband's siblings passed away. My question is, do chills play a part in the opening of the third eye or anything spiritually? Do you think that the overwhelming of chills was a coincidence of finding out the next day about my husband's sibling passing? So sorry, I'm very new to this stuff, but so interested in learning more about all of it. Brittany, no need to be sorry. Ask all the questions. It's very important to ask questions. First of all, I'm sorry about your sibling-in-law, your husband's sibling. And I first want to say that you feeling a premonition of someone's passing does not mean necessarily that you could have prevented their passing. Actually, I think when these things happen, when someone feels a premonition and then a person passes and that passing is related to the premonition, it's bigger than just the idea that the premonition was to prevent someone's death or transition. So please don't think that you having this premonition about or just a feeling, and then the next day you learn about your husband's sibling who passed. This doesn't mean that you could have done something to prevent their passing. So I really want to make that clear up front, because it's very easy to feel guilt when we have premonitions about something that may cause sadness to other people or anger to other people. But we're not quite sure what the premonition exactly is, but we just feel it. And then something happens and we're like, oh, maybe that's what I was expecting or feeling in my premonition. And then it's easy to feel quickly guilty. Like, should I have said something when I felt my premonition? Should I have done something? And I just want to empower you to feel not guilty about this, or no regrets. And I know you didn't ask for this, but I just wanted to make that very clear. And I think this is not an uncommon experience, getting a premonition about something about to happen and then somebody passes. It's a very common experience. But let's focus on the chills. So the first time I learned about having the chills as it relates to spirituality, well, I think growing up, there were a couple times in my life when I felt the chills, and I did attribute it to a moment of prayer or connecting to my higher power, to God. But I just felt it. It didn't happen often, but it would happen once in a while when I would be praying as a young person. And then when I started watching Teresa Caputo on Long Island Medium, she often talks about the chills. What's interesting is that she will feel the chills, and then she'll ask the person she's reading, did you just feel the chills? And they'll say yes. And it's just her feeling the chills is like she is absorbing the energy that her client is absorbing as well from their loved one. So they're both experiencing it at the same time. So to Teresa Caputo, for her, the chills is a sign that spirit is present or spirit is acknowledging their presence with you. When it comes to that isn't directly related to the third eye, but I think when it comes to intuition, so there's connecting with our loved ones, and then there's having intuitive insight, which are two different things in my experience. Connecting with loved ones means exactly what it means, what it says, that you are interacting with the soul, the energy of loved ones who have passed, whether your own or somebody else's. Whereas an intuitive insight, it's a little more of a psychic focus. There's a psychic focus to it where you are reading the energy of a current or future situation, maybe even a past situation. You are getting an insight or a glimpse into the energy, the feeling, or the look of something that has to do with the time spectrum in the physical world. That's my opinion, okay? Some people have different. The thing is, intuition can also be used in mediumship, but it's all related. It's almost like what I used to say often, that all psychics, all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. We are all psychic. It's just the way we use our psychic ability that differs person to person based on the focus. Is it to connect with those who have passed? Is it to gain insight on a situation? So in your instance, this was a moment when you were feeling the chills, and it seems like you were getting an intuitive insight, an intuitive glimpse into something that was about to happen. And I do believe that the chills are one indication that spirit uses to say they're present. Okay, I may sound a little confusing, so I'm going to clarify. Why am I mentioning spirit if we're talking about psychic ability, purely psychic ability? I may sound confusing, or I may be complicating it, but I think it's all tied to spirit. None of this is separate from spirit. Whether you are connecting with spirit to get validation and evidential information from spirit. Let's say I'm reading you and we are trying to connect with a parent of yours who is passed. Whether I decide to do a tarot card reading to get insight on a situation you're asking about, or I am reading you and trying to connect with your deceased parent. In both instances, I am using my intuition and psychic ability, but for different purposes. So, when it comes to the chills, when I say spirit is at work, when it comes to the intuitive insight you got that day this happened to you, it's because it's all connected. It's just up to us to discover what the ability, what the sensation, what purpose it serves. Is it because spirit is with you and telling you something? Or is it because you are psychically getting a glimpse into a situation, which is person to person? In this instance, it would have been maybe your soul connecting with the soul of your husband's sibling, and your in-law's soul, your sibling in-law's soul, was sending this message to you. I know I just said a whole bunch of things. It may sound confusing. It makes sense in my brain, but I acknowledge it may sound a little complicated out loud. So I'm going to keep delving into this, okay? So hopefully y'all have the patience with me, both Brittany and the rest of my listeners. But the thesis statement of this podcast is I do believe that the chills are a way for us to feel our intuitive insight and or the presence of spirit. There are different factors that can contribute to the chills. I have definitely consciously and purposefully made myself feel the chills just to see like what it was like. It's possible to make ourselves feel the chills. Okay. It's possible to just think of a song or hear a song and feel the chills as we listen to a song. I'm sure a lot of us have experienced that. But just like in a mediumship reading with me, I will get images in my head, and let's say a blue blanket pops up in my head. Okay, I have seen a blue blanket in my life before. I can easily think up a blue blanket. However, if a blue blanket comes out of nowhere when I have no intention of thinking of a blanket, or I have no reason to think of a blanket, more likely than not, it's a message of evidential information from spirit. So with the chills, yes, we can feel the chills when we listen to a song, but if it's coming out of nowhere for no apparent reason, that could definitely, I want to say it is spirit acknowledging its presence, or spirit helping you have intuitive insight. What I said before, that I think it's possible that your husband's sibling soul was sending your soul a message. Remember, we are all spirit. We are not separate from spirit. We are spirit. We're just in a physical manifestation of spirit. So we're seemingly separate, but we're really not. So we still have our souls that are connected to spirit, communicating and connecting with each other in the physical world. So I am right now doing this podcast answering your question, and I am trying to answer what my soul is telling me, or answer with what my soul is telling me to your question. And hopefully this is hitting something in your soul, and therefore our souls are communicating to each other. Now, some people will block the tapping into your soul. They do not want to tap into their soul because it's vulnerable. It's a vulnerable thing to do. And so they walk around and they live on the surface, so to speak. And that's okay. There's nothing bad about that, because that's their experience. And maybe there's something, who am I to say they can't learn from that experience? But when we connect on a soul level, it hits different between people. It just feels different. So we are all spirit in physical manifestation, and it doesn't stop our souls from communicating with each other when they need to. So it sounds to me like your soul was getting this message from your in-law's soul. In my family, there are quite a few instances of people having dreams about somebody. I think it's happened at least 5 to 8 times when someone that I know in my family has had a dream of somebody in it saying goodbye, and then the next day they find out they passed away. And, I'll be honest, I don't know the reason why those dreams happened, because I'm thinking, well, if you're coming to say goodbye to me, it's really lovely. And I think it's actually, I take back what I said. I think there's a almost like a logistical part of my brain that's like, well, if you're gonna pass away the next day, why are you saying goodbye to me? Do you want me to say something to the family? Do you want me to go to try and save you? Do you want me to try and help you or heal you? Or why are you? I think one of the thoughts that will come to my human brain is, why are you making me feel this, that you're going to leave? But I don't have the chance to do something about it. Or did I have the chance to do something about it? And this is when I was going to take back what I said about there's no reason. There is a reason. I know there's a reason. But my human brain is like, what was the reason? My human brain is saying that. But the reason is, I think, those experiences, like the experience you had, Brittany, was to strengthen your faith in the beyond. Doesn't mean you had to do something about it. Doesn't mean you had to warn your husband or warn another family member about this sibling's passing, this in-law's passing. That's hard to say to you because you just lost your sibling-in-law, and your husband just lost his sibling, a part of his family. And it's really hard for me to tell you there was nothing you were supposed to do when you got that premonition. And it feels like a very not very conclusive thing to arrive at, to say that was meant to strengthen your faith in the beyond, and your connection, your soul connection, your connection with spirit, your connection with your intuition. So, I don't know why some things just happen that way. I really don't have all the answers, but I do know that, well, I hope, I don't know, but I hope that this experience you had has somehow brought you even further down a path of exploring this side to you, your intuition. And it doesn't mean that it's at the expense of losing somebody in the physical world. That's not what this is about. This person did not have to pass for you to expand or to tap in more into your intuition. That's not what this is about. The universe, God, spirit, he was using this opportunity like this. This was going to happen already. And I think they were using this opportunity to show you, like, hey, you are connected. And here's how you're connected. Now, the next time you feel the chills, it doesn't necessarily mean something bad's going to happen. Like I said before, it could be an intuitive insight, it could be the presence of spirit, it could be them acknowledging their presence. And I think, again, it's hard for me to say it this way. So please know that I have a lot of compassion for your circumstance and what your husband is going through, what you are going through. But moving forward, I think this is a really wonderful opportunity for you to connect on a soul level with yourself. And maybe, if you like, connect with your loved ones on the other side. Connect with your sibling-in-law. If your husband is open to it, do it together. Do it together. The opening of the third eye and tapping into your intuition, tapping into intuition more, that looks different for everybody. Some people, they hear things. Some people, they feel things physically like you did, like the chills. Some people, it only comes through in dreams. For other people, what they use mainly to gain intuitive insights is using cards or using some other kind of tool. All of these things can shift. The more we grow, the more we learn what we're comfortable with. Honestly, I believe that we dictate how we receive things intuitively. I think it's like it's 50-50. I think 50% it's us dictating how we receive information based on what we're open to. And the other 50% it's what spirit it's up to spirit to show us in the ways they want us to. So for example, for me, I get the chills. I get the chills pretty often. I mean, when I say often, to me, like once a month, 2 times a month is pretty often because they come out of nowhere and it's delightful and it's shocking in a delightful way when it happens. So to me, that's pretty often because I think it doesn't usually happen to me. So that's often to me. That's frequent. But most of the times when I feel the presence of spirit, I feel, well, I see images in my head, or I feel like my third eye can see an energy around the person I'm talking to, and just knowing there's something around their aura or someone around their aura, in their aura. When it comes to intuitive insights, psychic insights, that usually comes to me in my gut. And that's for the majority of us. That's how we feel our intuitive insight. We just feel it. We can't explain why we feel it. We can't explain where it's coming from, or we can't explain why we feel the way we do about a thing or a scenario, but we just feel it. And it's just, I feel it in my solar plexus. For me, I feel it in my solar plexus, which is just above the belly button. That's where I feel it. So it looks different for each person. So what I am empowering you to do, Brittany, is to take this opportunity to take and run with this opportunity to really tap into your intuition. Talk to your loved ones. And it's okay to be new to this stuff. Don't ever be sorry for saying you're new to this stuff. The way I see it is our souls know what this is all about. But our human brain feels like it's all very new because we've never been open to it before. We were told it was not good to do. It was evil or sinful. We were told we were crazy. We were told it's all a fairy tale. And so don't don't apologize for having curiosity. Your curiosity is the beginning to a new phase in your spiritual development. And that's so exciting. And you should feel very proud of yourself for asking these questions. And I'm honored that you're asking me to answer these questions on the podcast. And I hope that you refer to other sources too. I actually would love to recommend to you, and I'll recommend to all listeners, is A Little Bit of Intuition. It's a book, A Little Bit of Intuition by Catherine Allen. That's Catherine, CatharinAllan. A Little Bit of Intuition is a really, really great, I'm going to call it a primer on intuitive abilities and different ways to tap into your intuition and different exercises you can do to help tap into your intuition. It's a wonderful book. She was on the podcast quite some time ago, and I loved her book. She has a second book called Vibes from the Other Side, which focuses a little bit more on the spirit realm. But I would say, and actually it's very apropos that was her second book, because I even told her myself, I said, your first book is kind of like a primer, and the second book is taking all of that and then applying it to connecting with the other side and the spirit realm, different levels of the spirit realm. So Brittany, I highly recommend reading A Little Bit of Intuition. I think it's a great, great book. And you can find it online. It's very easy to purchase. I would also read the book Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson, another wonderful book. And that book focuses more on stories of people. It's Laura Lynn's clients, people who learn to ask for signs from their loved ones and then receiving them and telling their stories, or folks who never expected to get signs or were a little doubtful about it, and they just happened and they were surprised. And to me, the chills is like a sign. Experiencing the chills out of nowhere is like a sign. It's like seeing a white butterfly. Like the other day, I don't know if I shared this on the podcast, but a couple weeks ago, I was walking my dog an hour before, or maybe 30 minutes before I had to do a reading one-on-one. And I saw this white butterfly. And now I'm seeing white butterflies in my park here. But at that moment, I thought, I've never seen a white butterfly like that in this park. And I just felt, it just hit me like, I just wanted to say, hi, Spirit, out of nowhere. Hi, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. And then I started feeling the energy of the soul that wanted to communicate in the reading that was about to happen. And I was feeling the energy of this soul 30 minutes before this reading was going to happen as I'm walking my dog. And I said, thank you, Spirit. Not right now. We're not in the session yet, but thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you later. And thank you for the sign of the white butterfly. I keep walking, and 3 minutes later, another white butterfly. So 2 white butterflies. And then in the reading, I told my client, I said, I just have to tell you, I saw these 2 white butterflies. And for this client, butterflies were very, very important. Now, I would say, like, to the client, it seemed to me at the beginning that the white butterflies, were important, very important, but not groundbreaking to hear in the reading. So I'm like, okay, cool, that's really cool. But later in the reading, in the latter part of the hour, she told me, you know what, I actually, like I told her, they're bringing up, your grandmother's bringing up white butterflies again. And they want to bring them up again. She goes, I do have, I have diamond butterflies. And then after the reading, she emailed me and said that she forgot to mention that she has 2 butterfly tattoos. So 2 butterflies, white butterflies. It's just those 2 things, either 2 butterflies and or white butterflies. That was the sign that came to me and that comes to her in the way Spirit communicates with her. Maybe she also feels the chills. I didn't ask her about that. But to other people, it doesn't have to be butterflies. Butterflies are very common, a very common sign from Spirit. It doesn't have to be butterflies. It could be chills. It could be seeing flashes of light out of nowhere. It could be seeing hearts on the sidewalk, seeing a ladybug in the dead of winter. As long as whatever happens, Brittany, whatever happens in the moment that you're like, where is this coming from? And I feel different. This feels different. This feels bigger than me. This feels like My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my child, my sibling-in-law, my husband's sibling. If it just hits you when you see this thing happening in front of you or around you, and it just hits you like, oh, this is different. This is somebody sending me a sign. It's like the first thought you have, go with it. No matter what it is, it could be the chills, it could be seeing an object in front of you or a living being that comes out of nowhere, a dragonfly. Embrace it. And so this experience of feeling the chills, if it happens again in the future, embrace it. And again, it's so hard to tell you that because here you're experiencing the overwhelming chills, and the next day you learn about somebody's passing, and that's not easy. So please know that I don't say this I don't say any of this lightly. I don't mean to dismiss the gravity of that news you got the next day. But I think the universe, spirit, is reaching out to you to say, hey, this is something you can do. This is something you can do. And we're trying to remind you, and it's not a you thing, Brittany. They're always trying to remind all of us. It's not just a you thing, so don't feel like there's a judgment here. Spirit is trying to remind you, the way they do all of us, that we can connect on a soul level. And this was an instance where you were connecting on a soul level. I could talk about this forever. I hope that helps, Brittany, and I hope it helps our listeners too, you listeners who would be curious about this question too. And I was raised Catholic as well. I had a hodgepodge of things. I was partly raised Catholic and then went to a Protestant high school. And so what's interesting about Catholicism is they don't really talk about this stuff. They acknowledge it, but they don't really talk about it. When it comes to psychic mediumship, I feel like it's something that many Catholics are open to, but the church is very, very uncomfortable talking about. And the Catholic Church is way more mystical than it makes itself out to be. And I'm not here saying the Catholic Church is a special religion that needs to be valued because of its mysticism. I just think it's more mystical than they think they are. I mean, turning wine into blood and turning bread into the human body, which, saying that way, it sounds very nasty. It sounds really gross, but hey, that's what they believe in. And if that isn't mystical or witchy, I don't know what is, but I digress. So I understand. I understand where you're coming from, Brittany. And I wish you a lot of peace. I wish you and your husband and your family a lot of healing in this time. And I also wish for you a wonderful, exciting development of your spiritual intuition. It's so exciting. I'm sorry that it happened in the middle of something that did not feel very exciting, felt the opposite of it, and felt challenging. But I think this is your opportunity to step into that a little more. And be patient with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Don't feel like you have to start doing readings for yourself or other people. We are all intuitive. Not all of us are meant to do readings for people. But I think we are all meant to tap into our intuition, tap into our souls, so we feel closer to our souls. Being human, we are taught things by our governments, our families, our religions, our social circles. We are taught things that sometimes may make us feel even more distant from our souls and who we really are. So take this chance to learn more about who you really are and to connect. I thank you for listening, Brittany. Thank you for submitting your question. And I thank all of you for listening. And as always, I appreciate you all so much. And I will see you on the next episode. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.